So we will see DG and defects allocation in electrical power distribution system. And before seeing the DG and defects allocation in distribution system, we will see the what are the current status of our Indian power system, why this allocation is required, and how we will able to allocate the DG and defects in the distribution system to resolve the problem of that. Increased power loss and poor voltage profile. Okay, so quickly we will see that what are the current status of our Indian power system, what are the milestone achieved after independency. Means we will see after 1947, if you will see approximately 75 years. So from last 75 years, what we have achieved in the our Indian power system, we will see that, and it is also related to the Indian government. If you have heard about 5 year plan, okay, so as per the 5 year plan, in almost every 5 year plan there is a focus on power system, because all of you know that that economy of the power system, that our country will depend upon the power system also. So in all the power 5 year plan, they have taken that Indian power system, uh, to how to develop, how to improve, okay, and how to continuously increasing the generation side. So generation of power from that all the conventional power plant, and now government is focusing on that renewable energy sources based power generation. Okay, so if you will see last to last year, this data I have taken from the Ministry of Power website. So as per the Central Electricity Authority, we will see that central sector is contributing 25%, and state sector is contributing 27.9%, and private sector is contributing 46.8% of power generated in India. That is approx 370 gigawatt as per this date. Okay, so we can able to see that this private sector is continuously increasing after 2009. Okay, so there is a huge increment in the private sector. Okay, so it is possible due to the that to Electricity Act. Okay, so 2003 Electricity Act, it is related with that. Okay, so that independent power producer are allowed to generate the power, produce the power. So private sector plays a key role there also. Okay, so this slide shows you only the installed capacity growth, and what are the power sector contribution from the thermal power plant, hydro power plant, nuclear power plant, and renewable energy resources. So still, if you will see, more than 60% power is generating from the thermal power plant, and hydro is contributing 12.4, and nuclear is contributing only 1 and 2%. And this renewable energy sources based power generation are increasing day by day. We can say day by day increment in the renewable energy sources. That is whether it is PV or solar or any other, it is increasing. Okay, so these are the status of power sector. And if you will see, this is the same thing, it is drawn in the pie chart. And again, if you will see, according to the 5 year plan of India. Okay, so this graph is as per the 5 year plan of the Indian government, like 56 to 61, 61 to 66, and like that. This is correlated with the that 5 year plan, how it is increasing. So it shows the growth, installed capacity growth status of India. So this is after the independency, means 30 1st December 47. This data is available. So if you will see the generation status of electricity, electrical power, so from the various that sources means hydro-based power generation, coal-based power generation, gas-based power generation, and nuclear-based power generation. So overall, if you will see all type of power generation, it is increasing. So this is the last 20 years record. Then we will see that what are the major milestone of Indian power generation system that took place after the independency, how we have achieved till now. So what are the main milestones? So main milestone of Indian power generation is the that opening of NTPC, NHPC, and PCIL. Okay, so NTPC as the thermal power plant, we have already seen it is only that contributing more than 60 percent of power. Okay, so whether it is coal-based NTPC, mostly coal-based NTPC are there, and that gas-based power plant is also there. So National Thermal Power Corporation, it is founded by Government of India in 1975, and NHPC is also founded by Government of India in 1975, and NPCIL in 1987. So these are the some that features. What are the present installed capacity of NTPC group? That is 62 gigawatt around, and it have 24 coal-based station, 7 gas-based station, and one hydro station, one small hydro, 11 solar PV based, and one wind based stations, and the joint ventures, 25 joint ventures. So these are the main power producer, and we will discuss about the distributed generation. So sometimes that students or researcher have the confusion. So these type of power generation is not under distributed generation. This is not distributed generation. Okay, so then coal-based power plant, if you will see that growth of the coal-based power plant, it is the growth of coal-based power plant as per the 5 year plan after the independency. So at the time of independency, if you will see, only 756 megawatt power plant was there, and at the end of 2019, it is 200 gigawatt. Okay, so this is the coal-based thermal power plant growth as per the 5 year plan, and this is the gas and liquid-based thermal power plant growth. At the time of independency, there is no power production from that, and still after 2 3 5 year plan also it was not exist, and after that it is increasing, and currently it is around 25 gigawatt is producing from gas and liquid based thermal power plant. Okay, then a diesel based power plant, of course it is very costly, diesel based power generation. So it is very less compared to other. So you can able to see that only few that megawatt is there, that is 638 as on 31st March 2019. So next is the NHPC. So NHPC growth, if you will see after the independency, that at the time of it is 508 megawatt only, and now it is around 45 gigawatt power production from the hydro power plant. Okay, so hydro power plant we can able to see basin wise, so river wise, what is the capacity of power production. So this we can able to see. So I have given the link at the end. Okay, so you may able to download the report, and you can see the current status of all the power plant. Okay, what are the nuclear power plant, and how it is increasing after the independency, but this increment is very less in the field of nuclear power plant. Okay, so now only 6 to 7 gigawatt is produced by the nuclear power plant. It is 6780 megawatt, and it is fixed generation in the area of nuclear power plant. Okay, so next for our discussion, we will concentrate on this renewable energy generation. So highest generation in India. among all renewable energy sources from each from the wind power, and after that solar power, that is mounted on ground mounted. Okay, and then all other that renewable energy sources are there. Okay, so as on 31st March 2009, there are 78 gigawatt power production in total, that is from the renewable energy sources. Okay, so this is the growth of renewable energy from last for last 12 years. So all the renewable energy main power producer renewable energy, among that is only two three, that is solar, wind, biomass. It is plotted here uh, for last 12 years. Next, so these are the some milestone we have seen in Indian power system for power generation of the power. Next, what are the main milestone in the transmission system which we have achieved? So I request all the participants to mute all the time. Okay, so next are the major milestone of Indian power system in the transmission sector. So in transmission sector, after the independency, if we will see in 1948, Electricity Act 1948 was there. The act provided for establishment of Central Electricity Authority. This act give the guideline to establish Central Electricity Authority and the State Electricity Board. Okay, so just after the independency, these act provide the guideline of opening the state electricity board in all across the country, and central electricity authority will be there to take care of rules and regulations of all the state electricity board. Okay, so then 1950 and 60, during this decade, that growth of state grid and interconnection of the grid by 220 kV high voltage lines, and then these are the main milestone which is achieved after the independency. Okay, so 1964, that constitutional of regional electricity boards for integrated operation of grid at regional level. Then 65 to 73, interconnection of state grid to form regional grid system. So, next main milestone is achieved in 1977 with the introduction of 400 kV high voltage line. Okay, so we all know that as the voltage increases, that current level is decreasing for the same amount of power transmission in the transmission network. So, as the we are moving towards high voltage line, so losses will be also reduced, and number of transmission line required for transmitting the power will be also reduced. So overall complexity of the power system get reduced, and we can able to send more amount of power with the that option of high voltage to extra high voltage or ultra high voltage lines. Okay, so next is the in 1989 the development of HVDC back to back system, and 1980 to 88. So in 19 to 80 to 88, growth of regional grid system as associated transmission system with central sector generation. Then in 1990, introduction of HVDC bipolar line. In 1992, the eastern regional region and the northern region were synchronously interconnected through this 220 kV double conductor transmission line. Next, in 1999, transmission planning reoriented towards all India system, and in 2000, introduction of 765 kV transmission line, which is initially charged at 400 kV. So across the India, if we will see, we are that means. our power system, that power grid, that is the operator of all the transmission line. They are removing that 132 kV and 220 kV line with the 400 kV and 765 kV transmission line, to take the advantage of high voltage transmission, and also that with the HVDC lines. Okay, so then in 2003, that Electricity Act 2003. So this is giving many many flexibility to the power producer. They can able to generate, they can able to sell their power after the generation of the power. So this is the Electricity Act 2003, which is giving all this flexibility to the uh, power producer. And in 2004, that open access transmission. 2006, synchronous interconnections of northern region with eastern region and northeast region, western region system led to the formation of new grid with the commission of Muzaffarpur Gorakhpur 400 kilovolt double conductor line. The northern region also got interconnected to this system, making an upper India having the system having the northern region, western region, eastern region, northeast region system. Okay, so next in 2007, that northern region also synchronously interconnected with the western region. So in these years, that interconnections of the grid took place to achieve that one nation one grid. So 765 kV transmission line operation started in the Sipat substation, and 765 kV operation of the transmission line. And in 2010, notification of POSCO came as a separate entity for a operation of a regional load dispatch center and national load dispatch center. Okay. In 2011, implementation of point of connection based method for sharing transmission charges and losses all across the conductor country. Next, in 2014, the southern grid is synchronously connected with rest of all India grid in December 2014 through single conductor 765 kV Raichur Solapur line. And in 2016, just 5 year ago of now, if you will see, northeast region directly connected with northern region, and the longest 6,000 megawatt HVDC line from Vishwanath Charali in northeast region to Agra in the northern region for dispersal of power from northeast region to northern region and western region. Next is that in 2017, 765 kV double conductor Nizamabad Hyderabad commissioned in July 17, and here in Kurukshetra itself, Power Grid have opened that commissioned their substation of HVDC substation, that is 800 kilovolt Champa Kurukshetra HVDC bipolar line, which is commissioned in September 17. So these lines, this is the bipolar line initially, that only one line is charged and it is able to carry 3000 megawatt of power. Single line can able to carry 3000 megawatt of power, and this bipolar line is able to carry 6000 megawatt of power. So this is one of the major milestone achieved by the power grid. And the next 800 kV Alipurdwar Agra HVDC bipolar line is also commissioned in September 17. Okay, next 2018 765 Jabalpur Orai Aligarh double conductor IR system commissioned in March 18, and guideline of import export of electricity to another country is issued in December 2018. Okay, so these are the main milestone in the Indian transmission system. How we that circuit kilometer that is increased, that as per the 5 year plan only. So startingly, that if you will see that 66 kV line, so all the 66 kV transmission line is increasing as per the 5 year plan we can able to see this. So next is this is the plan-wise growth of transmission line in the country below 66 kV line, like 33 kV line or 11 kV line. So this shows the enhancement in the transmission line below 66 kV. So next is the distribution system. So here from we will see for our today's discussion what are the distribution system. So it is the last end of the power system, means generation, transmission, and distribution. So that part of the power system which distributes electrical power for local use is known as distribution system. So in distribution system is the electrical system between sub station fed by transmission system and the consumer meters. So it generally consists of feeder, distributors, and servicemen. So in this figure, we can able to see what is the difference between servicemen and feeder and distributors. Okay, so here substation is in between, and feeder connect the corners, and then from there servicemen are connected. Okay, so a feeder is a conductor which connects the substation to the area where power is to be distributed. Okay, so generally no tappings are taken from the feeder so that current in it remains the same throughout. Okay, the main consideration in the design of the feeder is the current carrying capacity. So these are the main 3 points about the feeders. Then distributor. So a distributor is a conductor from which tappings are taken for supply to the consumers. Okay, so the current through a distributor is not constant because tappings are taken at various places along its length. So in distributor, the tappings are allowed, and in feeder tappings are not allowed. So while designing a distributor, voltage drop along its length is the main consideration, since the statutory limit of voltage variation is plus minus 6% of rated value at the consumer terminal. Okay, so this also we will see this voltage variation is allowed distribution system is the most important link in the our entire power system. So as the only interface between utilities and the consumers, it is the cash register for the have so many plans to improve the distribution system. uh, I will not go with that plan. So distribution system, and as per the construction, it is system and underground system as per the scheme of the connection as discussed in the yesterday lecture, that is radial distribution system, ring main distribution system, and interconnected system. So next, after seeing the major milestone of generation sector, transmission sector, and distribution sector, then we will see what kind of load. Okay, because these four are the components of the power system. We have to know the basics, what is happening in the country, in the generation sector, transmission sector, and distribution sector. What are the loads, what are the categorization of the loads, then only we can able to model it. What are the modeling equations of the load, and how it is changing, say for example during the current pandemic situation, that is the COVID situation. So what are the changes in the percentage of the loading condition of the industrial, commercial, and domestic sector, because we have seen that due to this COVID-19, many that industry are operating with very less capacity, and also that peoples are working from home, so domestic load are increased and industrial load are decreased. So we have to see the categorization of load: industrial, commercial, domestic, and traction, and the mixed load. Okay, so before pandemic, if you will see that in general, so these are the normal situation. So we can able to see that industrial sector is contributing 41% of load all across the country. And after that, domestic sector is there, which is contributing around 25%. So approximately you can remember like that, industrial sector is 41%, domestic sector is around 25%, and agriculture sector is like 17 to 18%. 17 to 18%, and commercial sector is 8 around 8%. So and rest is the miscellaneous load. So 1 and 2% are the traction load. So this is all the status of electricity consumption in the year 2018-19. So this is the growth of domestic load year by year. If you will see that as per the 5 year plan, again it has been shown. So this is the status of domestic load, and then commercial load, how it is enhanced, that after the independency to the 2018-19. So approximately in all the sector, if you will see, this continuous growth is there in all the sector. Okay, so a status of this is the status of mixed load, status of rural electrification growth. So this is the status of number of villages electrified in the country after the independency. So here you can see that at the time of independency, the situation of a rural area means villages, power is not there, means zero is there. Okay, and next, as per the 5 year plan, that these much means 597,464 number of villages has been electrified. So this is the per capita consumption growth. So this all data is required. Just a minute. Hello. Sir. Mhm. Okay, so main concern of today's talk is this slide, that is status of transmission and distribution losses. Hello. अच्छा 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 10 तो बज गए सर। ठीक है। ठीक। हाँ हाँ। ठीक ठीक। ओके ओके। ओके सर। So this is the status of T&D losses in India. So transmission and distribution losses, it is increased. We can able to see it is highest in 2000, up to 33 to 34%, and then still if you will see, more than 20% losses are there in the transmission and distribution side. Okay, so this is the main problem for which we need to study the optimal allocation technique, so that we can able to reduce these losses. Okay, and if you will compare with the developed countries, so what are the mm, status, you can able to see India is the highest transmission and distribution losses among these countries. Okay, so we need to reduce these losses. So then we will see forecasting of peak load demand. So how we can able to forecast the low peak load demand, and accordingly that power demand will be met by the power producer. So forecasting technique is also very much important. Okay, so that technique also we will see some load forecasting technique. So forecast of peak energy demand, and these are the main force electricity act, which is the guideline for continuous growth in the power sector. So this is all about just overview of the power system, and you can refer this report like growth of electricity sector in India from 1947 to 2019 from the Ministry of Power, Central Electricity Authority. So these are the references, and then we will see that Indian our DG and D facts allocation technique, how we are able to do the DG and D facts allocation technique. Okay.
Dr. Gupta, your lecture is up to 11:30, na?
Yes, sir. Just I have given overview of the power system. Now we will see this DG and D facts
Okay,
in the.
okay, fine.
Yes, sir. So screen is visible again.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just we will start within 2 minutes.
ये है ना रुमाल?
अभी नहीं खाई, छोड़ ना, खा ली।
भाई तो
Okay, so again we will see now DG and defects allocation in electrical power distribution system. So why we are doing this allocation? What is the need and what is the DG? Who will allocate? Who is responsible for allocating? And the load modeling technique, defects, devices, and the allocation and distribution system. So impact of reconfiguration of distribution network, then objectives, then discussions. We will see all these things. So motivation is that we have seen in that first hour that how renewable energy integration are increasing in the power system. So approximately 25% power is now generated from the renewable energy sources. So that has shifted the paradigm of power sector operation, and distribution system operation is now changed from passive to active network due to bidirectional power flow. And also with the growth and development of power grids, optimal utilization of existing electrical network is very much important. And because of high cost of construction and development of power networks, mitigation of existing issues such as excessive power loss, as we have seen that around 21% that T&D losses are there, and voltage profile problems, voltage instabilities, reliability problems, etc. is inevitable. So to release this kind of problems, instead of that in place of capacitor bank to fulfill the reactive power demand, set we can able to use these statcom also. These still, if you will see that almost all across the country, in the entire country only capacitor bank is used, but this statcom can also be used where we need quality power. Excuse me. Sir, I have made you co-host. You can mute all the participants in between. Okay, so distribution network operator will play a key role, who will suggest and where to allocate, how much to allocate the renewable energy sources. So it will plan for secure, reliable as well as economic network with the allocation of renewable energy sources. And since planning of the distribution network with renewable energy sources has changed the facet of the network operation, hence, distribution network study with optimal allocation of DG and defects is at most important. In yesterday lecture, also we have seen if DG is not allocated properly into the system, it may causes either a very low voltage profile, or in some node voltage profile may be higher, will be not within the acceptable limit. Okay, so it is very much important where we are allocating the DG, so that it can able to reduce the power losses, improve the voltage profile of the network. Okay, so this all analysis we will see. So in the distribution part, means low voltage region, means compared to the transmission, if you will see, distribution will be in primary distribution, it will be in 66 kV, then 33 kV and 11 kV. And secondary consumer will get in three phase, that 400 volt, or in single phase 230 volt. So distribution system are undergoing rapid changes in the recent decades due to increasing implementation of renewable energy sources based distributed generation. Okay, so central generation also we have seen in the first hour lecture, what are the central generation, what are the distributed generation. So this is the difference we know now. What are the distributed generation in non-renewable based fuels, what are the distribution generation with renewable fuels. So with non-renewable fuels, like diesel based, natural gas based, kerosene based, coal based, this all will kerosene based, but small this small generation, coal based generation will not come into the distributed generation. Okay, so these small generations will come into the non-renewable based DG, and like in renewable wind energy based, solar energy based, hydrogen energy, biomass, and hydro based power production will come into the category of renewable energy based distributed generation. So there are many that authority like IEEE or SIGRE, many standard are there for defining the capability or rating of the DG. So as per the SIGRE, if you will say, it is telling up to 50 megawatt can be the distributed generation. So various different definitions or ratings are given, but it will be maximum up to 100 megawatt can be taken as a distributed generation. A small generation can be like a 10 megawatt, 20 megawatt, 25 megawatt. This all come under the category of the distributed generation. Okay, so here category we will categorize distributed generation in four types. First type is that which is capable of only reactive power generation. Okay, so DG capable of injecting active power only is like photovoltaic or fuel cell based distributed generation. So am I audible to all clearly?
Yes, sir. You are
Okay.
audible.
Thank you. Thank you. So type 2 distributed generation will be which will be only able to generate reactive power. This can be also we can take as a distributed generation. Say for example, in the distribution side or in our power system, if you will see, all the loads, maximum loads are connected, are the reactive load, okay, which require reactive power. Okay, also what are the components like transformer, transmission line, all are reactive in nature. Okay, so we need to fulfill the reactive power demand arises from the loads by installing capacitor bank, that is the conventional method. If we can take capacitor as a capacitor bank as a DG also, but this is type 2 DG which will able to inject the reactive power, which will able to generate the reactive power for the purpose of maintaining the voltage profile within an acceptable limit, or we can say for improving the voltage profile. Okay, because voltage is closely coupled with the reactive power. Okay, so this is the three type 2 DG like capacitor, synchronous compensator, KVR compensator. These are the reactive power generator, and type 3 can be DG capable of injecting both real and reactive power. So that can be the synchronous machine under both the excitation, under excited and over excited. It can able to generate in the both power, and it can able to operate in two mode. Okay, so it can able to generate the real power or and reactive power. So type 4 type of generator will be which can able to generate active power, but it will take reactive power, like induction generator used in the wind farm. So one is type 1 which will only generate active power P, type 2 only generate Q, means and type 3 will be both P and Q generator, and type 4 will generate P but it will require Q. Okay, so these are the types of DG. What are the technical and economical advantage with the distributed generation if we are allocating into the network? Okay, so first advantage will be that voltage profile improvement, but as we have seen also yesterday, it will depend, okay, where we are allocating the DG. Otherwise it will, instead of improving the voltage profile, it will diminish the voltage profile. Okay, there will be poor voltage profile will be the result by allocating DG also. Okay, so we need to properly allocate it. Next is that reduction in line losses and therefore reduce the demand from the grid. So this is also from the common sense, we can able to see if the losses will be also reduced, that power required, total power required will be total power consumptions plus the losses. Okay, so losses, if we will be we can able to reduce, there will be burden on the grid will be reduced, because less transmission power is transmission of power will be required. Power will be fulfilled locally in the distributed distribution side by the distributed generation. Means there is one more concept, that distributed generation, generally we are allocating in the distributed distribution side. Okay, so by allocating in the distribution side, the costly infrastructure requirement in the high voltage transmission line can be also reduced. Okay, so that is also coming into the concept of like microgrid or nanogrid, where burden on the that main transmission line or high voltage transmission line will be reduced. Okay, power will be that produced and served to the consumer locally. So next is the transmission and distribution cost can be reduced since the DG units are closer to the consumers. Okay, so this is also important. Due to this, losses will be reduced. Overall losses will be reduced, and that cost of the per unit cost will be also get reduced. That will be, we will see in the coming slides how it will be. Okay, next is that spinning reserve support during generation outage. Environmental impact, basically from the renewable energy based allocation, it will reduce the pollution, and as compared to our traditional power plant like coal based power plant. Okay, so next, implementation of DG has resulted in renewable energy to be widely utilized and realized as a promising source of energy. So DG is available in small modular units, and therefore easier for procurement and installation. So overall, with all these qualities, DG provides a flexible way to choose a wide range of combinations. So next is that who will suggest where to allocate, who will see the market, that fair pricing mechanism, and how they will remunerate to the DG. Okay, say for example, some company have their own distributed generation. They want to sell their power to the consumer. So they will sell, and after that they should be remunerated. Okay, so DG can be all the four types we have discussed. Say for example, one power producer is there, they will provide the reactive sources like one of the main ancillary services. So it will remunerate, DNO will remunerate all reactive power sources. It will ensure fair pricing mechanism. It will provide the capability to function with real power market, and it will also put a stop to the market power. So this marketing concept is also there. Means say for example, if only one product producer is there, so they have the monopoly in the market. Means whatever they will charge, they have to give, consumer have to give for that. But if consumer have the options, so this company is giving the power at 4 rupees per unit, and this company is giving the power at 8 rupees per unit, and according to their requirement they can able to take the power. Okay, so say for example, one company is producing that microprocessor and microcontroller. Okay, so they need too much quality in the power. Okay, and one company is just that producing aluminum and like that. So it will not require very quality of the power. Okay, so accordingly they wish to pay as per their demand. Okay, obviously if we need quality power, we have to pay more. Okay, so like there is option whether we can install D statcom or whether we can install capacitor. Both will be there for reactive power. but the quality power will be given by the D STATCOM more quality compared to the capacitor bank. Okay, so these are the some roles and responsibility of the distribution network operator to manage the voltage profile with optimal deployment of reactive power sources, distribution network capability enhancement of security, reliability, and economic efficiency, monitoring, control, and dispatching of energy, transparent and fair pricing mechanism for energy sale. Okay, so after seeing all the generation and this allocation, that why it is required, what are the benefit, then now we will see that load modeling. Okay, how to model the load. So generation bus, we all know that PV will be known and Q and delta. There are four parameters. So PV will be known and Q and delta will be unknown. This will be the generation bus. Load bus PQ will be known and V and delta will unknown, and slack bus P and delta will be known and P and Q will be unknown. Okay, so electrical load, as per the nature of the load, it can be resistive load, inductive load, or capacitive load. As per the utilization, if you will see what are the power system load, it can be categorized as we have seen in the earlier lecture, that domestic load, commercial load, and industrial load, agriculture load. So these can be as per the utilization. So next is that load modeling concept is there. So active and reactive power for static load models can be expressed with this load model, where this exponent NP and NQ will change whether it is a constant power model or constant current model or constant impedance model. Okay, or a mix of all these, or electrical motor load, or that electrical battery load. Okay, so in the research paper, that various authors have shown the technique to find out the exponent and what are the exponent value for a particular kind of load. Okay, so this here we have to change this equation as per the loading conditions. Okay, so this can be one loading conditions like Jeep load model means where there is will be percentage of constant impedance, constant current, and constant power load model. Okay, next, we can plan for load growth. Say, for example, we want to analyze the system. What will be the impact on voltage profile and losses after 5 years or after 7 years? If this much load growth, percentage load growth is there. Okay, so say for example, if 5 year plan we want to analyze after 5 year, what will be the loading conditions, and as per the load, what will be the voltage profile of the network, and what will be the losses. Okay, so this formula can be used like load into 1 plus r to the power m, where r is the rate of annual growth in percentage we have to give, and m is the year for planning. Okay, so next is that load forecasting technique, that as we have discussed, we need to forecast the load to fulfill the load demand in future. Okay, so accordingly we will plan our power system so that that amount of load can be handled. Okay, so load forecasting can be short term load forecasting, medium forecasting, or load that long term forecasting. Okay, short term forecasting can be 1 hour to a week, and medium forecasting can be a month to a year, and long term load forecasting can be over 1 year. Okay, so one of the technique for forecasting is that probabilistic load modeling. So in mathematics also we have learned about various probabilistic analysis. Okay, how to find out the mean and deviation, and accordingly we can find out the probable value based on the data, available data. So here also, say for example, in each node we have the data from the that substation, and after that what we can able to do, we can find out the mean, and we can find out the deviation of the data, and accordingly we can able to know the what will be the probable data. Okay, so in probabilistic voltage dependent load model, load is allowed to fluctuate at any instant of time. Say for example, if we are giving 5% that variations in the load, and accordingly we are generating the number of load data in any particular bus. And then say for example, one technique is called Monte Carlo simulation. In Monte Carlo simulation, what we are doing, we are generally generating 10,000 to 15,000 data on of a single data, from the single data with variations. And then we are finding the mean and variance of that mean and variance. And then we are finding the probable active power load or reactive power load. Okay, so there are various probabilistic distribution functions like normal PDF, log normal PDF, uniform probability distribution function, or Weibull probability distribution function. Okay, probabilistic distribution function. So according to the behavior of the data, we are using these PDF functions. So here, as I have discussed in the Monte Carlo simulation, we are generating 10,000 to 15,000 data, and then we are calculating the mean and variance of that. From the mean and variance, we are finding the standard deviation, and then based on this, we are finding the probable active and reactive power demand at each bus. Okay, so this is one method to find probable loading conditions. Next, we can able to see that what are the important issue of the distribution system with renewable energy based DG. So these are the some important issues like finding optimal allocation, where to allocate, what will be the impact of load modeling, enhancement of reactive loading capability, how we can able to enhance the reactive loading capability, and overall whether it will be economical or not. So cost benefit analysis will be also required. Next, that for in this particular study, for fulfillment of reactive power demand, we are using FACT devices. Although FACT devices have so many other advantages, because we know that it can change the reactance value, and accordingly that net reactance it can reduce by implementing any FACT devices, whether it is in series, shunt, or both. Okay, so if we can able to reduce the net reactance, the power transfer capability will get enhanced. Okay, so as we know that power transfer capacity will be equal to sending in voltage into receiving in voltage upon the reactance into sine delta. Okay, so it can able to enhance the power transfer capability, provides control of one or more AC transmission system parameter, flexibility. It have the flexibility to accommodate change in the system or operating conditions without violating stability margin. So next, if we will categorize these FACT devices, it can be shunt connected, series connected, or combined series controller, or combined shunt controller. FACTs can be also categorized with these two type, like variable impedance type or variable source voltage source converter based FACT devices. Okay, so VSC based or variable impedance type. So if you will see the category of variable impedance type, like SBC, TCSC, and TCPST is there, and as per the BSC based STATCOM, Triple SC, and IPFC and UPFC are there. So these all type of FACT devices we are using into the transmission line. So to achieve various benefits like to reduce transmission losses, maintain voltage into the acceptable limit, relieve overload lines, improve stability, full utilization of existing system, and of course for increasing the power, that transmission capacity is also there, improvement in power transmission capacity. So with some limitations, means it is a costly device, means cost, size and installation, maintenance will be there, and testing is based on RTDS. Okay, so these all are the limitations of the fact devices. So similar kind of things we can able to do. We can able to install these devices into the distribution area, and it will be, that's why it is known as only distribution factor controller. Okay, so flexible AC transmission side system in the distribution side. Okay, so if we are connecting in that parallel like statcom, or in shunt it is dstatcom, or in series it will be DVR, and it in parallel it will be UPQC like UPFC in the transmission. Okay, so here the in this particular that lecture we will see about this statcom, and similarly DVR and UPQC also can be studied. Okay, so reactive power compensation from the D statcom is in place of capacitor, because capacitor cannot able to provide the variable reactive power, and DStatCom able to provide variable reactive power, and response wise also it is much faster compared to the capacitor bank, and a lot of other advantages like power quality problems also can be solved from the DStatCom. Okay, so overall, if you will see the allocation technique, what allocation technique is adopted in the literature, available literature of DG and defects allocation devices. So entire that literature we can able to categorize by the four method that various researchers have that suggested DG and defects allocation technique by sensitivity based method is the one, and second is the cost benefit analysis based, and third one is that voltage security margin based, and then optimization based method. Okay, so in this particular study we will see the first three, sensitivity based method, cost based benefit analysis, and we will see also voltage security margin. So, various researchers have also reported that if we will penetrate this StatCom in the distribution system, practically we can integrate 20 to 25% more DG into the same existing distribution line. Okay, so here also it is very advantageous to allocate DG with the DStatCom. Okay, so various that authors have shown it in practical distribution system also. It enhance the reactive loading capability of the system also. So first we will see how to allocate from the sensitivity based method. So first is that for allocating or doing this kind of steady state analysis. So this is a kind of steady state analysis which we are doing with the DStatCom. So we are doing load flow analysis. So first step is the load flow analysis. Load flow analysis method will be same as discussed in the last lecture. Okay, it can be either direct based method like BI, BC and BCBV based method, or forward backward method we can apply for the distribution side. So what is the need and necessity of load flow analysis? We all know that for continuous monitoring for the of the performance of the power system, existing power system, or if we are going to increase the loading condition of the power system, what will be the impact, that can be also studied. Means for planning of the power system, this load flow analysis is very much important. Okay, with the allocation of some devices, what will be the impact of the DG allocation on the voltage profile and losses, feeder capacity. So this all idea we are getting from the load flow analysis. So here, as we know that load flow analysis address only steady state analysis. So this analysis is not for transient and dynamic analysis. Okay, so say for example, this is a 6 bus distribution system, radial distribution system, and here if see distribution system, if you will see there can be radial mesh or unbalanced in both. Okay, unbalanced radial or balanced radial, unbalanced mesh or balanced mesh distribution system. Okay, so two types, balanced, unbalanced, and it can be both in radial and mesh. Okay, so here if you will connect bus number 5 and bus number 6 through some feeder, there will be one loop and it will be like a mesh distribution system. Okay, there can be also interconnected system, means this system is connected with some other substation. Just a minute. So these are the steps of the load flow analysis. I will not go into the detail of the load flow analysis because it is already discussed yesterday. So then cost component also we have to see, because if technique is very good, but if it is not economical, nobody is going to adopt it. Okay, so what is the cost of energy loss before allocation of the DG, and if we are installing any DG or defect devices, what will be the reduction in cost of energy losses with the cost of that devices we are installing. Okay, so what will be the net saving? Okay, so some literature have given the idea of calculating the cost of the DG or defect devices, which is given here. Okay, so in the net cost saving, we have to see that cost of energy loss before allocating these devices. And one another technique is also there, that is reconfiguration of the distribution system. Okay, so that also results reduction of the losses, power losses. Okay, so sometimes in DG allocation we can do for power loss reduction, and again we can do reconfiguration, and also we can do both. Okay, so as first we will see now that how to allocate devices by sensitivity method. Say for example, we want to calculate the optimal allocation of a D statcom. So take an example of this single line diagram. So this example, if you will, and one is that sending in node and another is the receiving in node. Okay, sending in voltage is Vm and receiving in voltage is Vn, and load connected is Pn plus jqn, and here the current flows is Im as shown in this figure. Okay, so current we can able to calculate very easily, sending in voltage minus receiving in, and divide by the impedance in between. Okay, so after calculating the current, we can able to find out the receiving in voltage. Okay, so this is the equations which is used to find this branch current and receiving in voltage. Okay, so after that apparent power, we know that Vi star. So here apparent power we are calculating. So Im can be calculated from here, and if we will put this value of Im will be here this branch current, so Vm minus Vn upon this uh, Rm plus Jixm we have seen. And another method, another thing is that S equal to Vi star. So from here I star will be equal to S by V, and I will be S by V whole star. So S is a P plus JQ, so S star will be P minus JQ, and V star will be as it is. So from here we can able to calculate the current, and this current is we want to find out for reactive. So it will after that device allocation. Say for example, QD is the reactive power given by the DStatCom. Okay, so it will change this above current equation with the below current equation, that is equation 2.9. Okay, now QD is supplied by the DStatCom. So this current equations will be changed, and after putting this value into the equation number 2.6 and separating real and imaginary part, we can able to find out these equations of active power and reactive power. So for active power based DG allocation, we can refer equation 2.10, and for reactive power allocation, we can refer equation 2.11. So here we are allocating that DStatCom for reactive power compensation. So for stability region, this can be and this must be the situation, and this QSI should be less than equal to 1. So the bus with highest value of QSI is most unstable and is selected as most favorable bus for DStatCom placement. Okay, say for example, this plot is given for the 85 bus rural distribution system. So QSI is calculated for 85 bus radial distribution system, and it is maximum for branch number 68. So branch number is 68, so bus number will be next to that. So 69 number of the bus, it is maximum. So it is better to allocate the DStatCom in the 69th bus. Okay. So there are other that sensitivity based method, like power loss index method. Similarly, here that power loss index has been calculated, where M is the reduction in the power loss, Mx is the maximum power loss reduction, and Mn is the minimum power loss reduction. So at each bus we are calculating. So this from the next bus, from not for the first bus, because first bus is the substation connected bus. Okay, so from the next bus, in each bus we are calculating the power loss indices, and we are plotting it similar to the previous one, and we are seeing that where PLI is the maximum, and that will be the optimal location for installing the devices, this defect devices. So here these are the steps for calculating the PLI, power loss indices. So this is the sensitivity based method. So first we require line data and load data, then we need to perform the load flow, do the mathematical modeling of DStatCom and calculate reactive power required at all the buses. Okay, next by compensating the reactive power injections at each bus except source bus, run the load flow again, and calculate the active power loss in each case. Okay, so calculate power loss indices using PLI expression and select the bus having the highest value of PLI as a candidate bus. Okay, so in this way, this is for IEEE 33 bus balanced radial distribution system. So we can able to see which one is maximum, and here like 29th bus number it is showing, it is maximum. So we have to allocate in the 29th bus. Okay, so similarly many that indices are there. We can compare also. Suppose one method is giving 29th bus and another method is giving 30th bus. So after allocating, we can able to see the losses conditions, so that we can able to suggest this sensitivity based method will be better. Okay, so similarly voltage stability index is there. We can plot it on the similar way, and this VSI is showing 30th bus is the best or most favorable bus for the this DStatCom allocation. So in this way, index vector method is also there, NBSI is also there. So many sensitivity is proposed by the researcher. First one, which I have explained, that is proposed by me one in one paper. You can refer, and we can compare the result to know the best one. Okay, and next, as per the loading conditions also, what will be the impact of loading condition on finding the optimal location? Okay, so that also we can able to study. Like this one is that NVSI method. Okay, so NVSI, new voltage sensitivity index, is calculated and plotted. So here we can able to see the graph for commercial, industrial, jeep, residential, and constant power. So pipe loading conditions, so, and all are suggesting similar voltage, this sensitivity profile. Okay, so sometimes it can differ also, but we have to simulate on the MATLAB, and then we have to see which one will be the good for which loading conditions. Okay, next is that size. What will be the size of the device? Which device will be better? So starting, if you are doing if you are starting the research, if you know devices are allocated, what will be the losses? And say for example, randomly we have allocated some that active power or reactive for DG type 1 and reactive power for DG type 2, and see the impact on the losses and the voltage profile. Or after finding the optimal location, there in the optimal location, we are installing the devices, and we are increasing the sizes of the devices in steps in the programming of the MATLAB, and we can see the impact on the losses and the voltage profile. Say for example, starting from 0, we are increasing by 50 kVR in steps and recording the losses, and after that with we are plotting the rating versus losses. Okay, so this kind of graph we are getting. So if we don't have any DStatCom at that time, say for example, active power losses is there around 250 kilowatt, and again with the allocation it is decreasing as the size of the DStatCom are increasing, the losses are decreasing. Okay, but after we can see around it is 900, so after that again it is increasing. Okay, so DStatCom is placed at optimal bus as per the earlier suggestion of the sensitivity, that is 69th bus, and the variation of real power with DStatCom is calculated, and here it is shows that most favorable DStatCom size is 900 kVR. So this will be one technique.
ये IIT कुरुक्षेत्र ANIT कुरुक्षेत्र
Okay, so both sensitivity impact also we can compare on various bus system. Say for example, one PLI method and BSI is here compared. One is suggesting 29th bus and one is suggesting 30th bus. So as per PLI, 1300 kVR will be the most favorable size, and as per BSI, 1250 kVR. Okay, so here we can able to see that 1250 kVR means rating is less, means this cost will be less. Okay, so it is better to allocate on 30th bus instead of 29th bus. Okay, so in this way we can able to calculate the DG size. So there are many techniques of finding the DG and DStatCom sizes. Okay, so in this lecture time is less, so that I will skip some part. So reconfiguration procedure is also can be adapted to reduce the power losses and improving the voltage profile. So say for example, this is the 33 bus system, and here some that feeders are connected to make the loopings in between. So here some sectionalizing switches are used to make it that mesh distribution system, or for if we are doing the reconfiguration. So before reconfiguration and after reconfiguration, if all these switch are closed, this will be the mesh distribution system. Okay, and if we are closing this system and opening some other switches like this, okay, so here it is given it at initially all the switches will be as it is. So it is a standard IEEE 33 bus system, and if we are doing the power flow analysis, in that case the losses will be 210. And in after reconfiguration, see what are the dotted lines are there in the this will be connected, and this dotted line will be opened. Okay, the purpose is that main criteria will be that all the load should get the power from the substation. Okay, that will be the one main criteria. Okay, next, just a minute. Okay, so these are the reconfiguration technique adopted to reduce the power loss and improving the voltage profile. If you will see the case for 69 bus distribution system, so earlier that minimum voltage we are getting is 0.875, and with this reconfiguration the minimum voltage is 0.93. Okay, so these are the things. And next, that probabilistic load model, as we have discussed earlier, how to allocate that, see the impact of probabilistic load model, that is also given here for 85 bus distribution system. So after finding the D-STATCOM location, that is 69th bus, and from the variational technique that optimal or most favorable size is 900 kVr, still we cannot able to tell this is the optimal size. This is not the optimal size because we have not used any optimization here. Okay, so this is the sensitivity. From the sensitivity bus based method we have calculated the size. It is not the optimal because in optimization again you have to take some criteria what you need to optimize, whether you are optimizing the losses or what criteria, what constant you are taking. Okay, voltage profile must be within the limit of 0.95 to 1.05, and whether you are concerning with the losses or cost. So that will be the optimization technique. So here we are not discussing optimization method. So just we are allocating the D-STATCOM. So here we can able to see that almost with the D-STATCOM of 900 kV AR, that power loss is reduced from 243 to 187 kilowatt for that 85 bus radial distribution system. So accordingly, that annual energy loss saving will be there, and cost saving will be there, and there will be enhancement in the voltage profile with the allocation of this STATCOM. Okay, so we can compare with the existing technique. Then we can take the case with reconfiguration. So first case without reconfiguration without this STATCOM, and other without reconfiguration with this STATCOM. Then we can take both at a time in case 4, and with a reconfiguration without this STATCOM. So these kind of cases we can what will be the cost of annual cost saving. Okay, so these are the cases which has been taken. Also here, while we are analyzing distribution network, that say for example, if we are analyzing for 11 kV distribution network, this will be the losses in the base case of 317 kilowatt, and if we are doing for 12.66, so this will be the 225 kilowatt. So this is obvious, if voltage will be increased, that losses will be reduced. Okay, so accordingly, we can compare for all other loading conditions also, like it is the result of constant impedance, and this is the result of constant jeep load conditions. So all the method, it is suggesting that if we are doing both reconfiguration as well as defects, de-statcom allocation, that losses will be reduced more compared to earlier. Okay, so in base case it is 285, and in if we are allocating both, it the losses is reduced up to 115. Okay, so other related advantage will be there. Voltage profile will be enhanced, and there really is a enhancement in annual cost saving. Okay, so we can plot for both the for all the cases. Okay, for all loading conditions, we can do, and we can show the annual energy losses saving in what are the annual energy loss, that in case 4 it will be reduced, and accordingly that cost of energy loss will be also reduced with reconfiguration and GSTATCOM combined allocations. Okay, so again, after that we can install DG into the system. So DG and GSTATCOM as well as reconfiguration, all three we can take with the all considered loading conditions, and we can see the impact. So what are the base case result after reconfiguration, what it will be. Okay, what will be the released feeder capacity also with the this allocation or reconfiguration. So startingly, if you will remember, for constant power 33 bus IEEE radial distribution system, losses is 210 first value. Okay, so 210.98. After reconfiguration, it is reduced to 139.97, and accordingly it is reduced for all other loading conditions also. Okay, so there is a releasing in the feeder capacity with the reduction of losses here. 80, around 80 kVA released feeder capacity is there, means after reconfiguration this amount of more load can be handled by the same distribution system. So this is the impact of DG before reconfiguration, 210 to 111, and this is the DStatCom before reconfiguration, 151, and after, if we will allocate both, so it will reduce up to 53.13 from 210. Okay, so these are the related results with DG and DStatCom after the reconfiguration. Similarly, this all analysis we can do for the unbalanced distribution system with, say for example, rated loading condition, or increased loading condition, or decreased loading condition, or for planning of 5 year. So next is that economical allocation. As we have seen here, that earlier also, as we are increasing the size of the DStatCom, that cost, that losses are reducing, and after some point again it is increasing. Okay, so if you will see that cost of energy loss will be as per the loss in reduction, that is the green line, and this is the DStatCom size. Okay, cost. Okay, red one. So as we are increasing the size, at the time of 0 this will be no reduction, and after that as we are increasing the size of DStatCom, that total power loss is reducing, and after some point it is increasing. So accordingly cost will follow that only. Okay, so the statcom rating here, if you will see, of 300 kVr installed as per the cost analysis mentioned above. After installation of the statcom, 300 kVr reactive power is locally supplied in each phase, thereby power taken from the substation reduces. Okay, so as per the loss reduction, there will be another size, but as per the economical consideration, there will be another size. Okay, so we have to consider the DStatCom cost also to see the to select the size of the DStatCom. So here in the unbalanced system, we have to do phase-wise analysis. So for 25 bus unbalanced radial distribution system, say for example, we are in each phase we are allocating 300 kVr, and sensitivity shows 15th bus will be the most favorable bus. So earlier the losses is around 150, means 146.442, and after allocation it is 117.052. Okay, so then net saving we will calculate after allocation of the DStatCom. So in each phase here in the unbalanced system, we have to show the voltage profile enhancement. We can able to see after allocation of the DStatCom. Okay, so similarly we can do for DG allocation with various power factor, and we can take combined DG and DStatCom allocation to improve further voltage profile. Okay, but it should be on the proper position, otherwise it will go beyond 1 per unit. Okay, so which should not be, because if voltage will be increased much, then we have to think for the insulation of the distribution line also. So percentage loss reduction obtained after installation of the DStatCom. So this is the case in all cases that percentage losses are there. Okay, for all the loading conditions. So annual savings with both the installations. Then if you will see PV curve, that loading capability also we can able to enhance with the allocation of the devices. Okay, so in tabular form, if you will see earlier in the base case, if you will see that 620, 640 and 910 was there. Active loading capability and reactive loading capability is this, and with the allocation of the DG, this is enhanced. Okay, so active as well as reactive loading capability of the system also can be enhanced with the allocation of the devices. So conclusion of the today's discussion is that defects devices can play a vital role in improving voltage profile and reducing losses in the system, thereby increasing annual energy saving in the distribution system. Power losses increases with load growth. Accordingly, the required DStatCom KVR support also increases to meet the load growth. Okay, annual energy saving obtained due to energy loss reduction is higher with load growth after installation of DStatCom. And after the configuration of the distribution network, the power losses are reduced with enhanced voltage profile for all types of load models. Okay, so and we have seen with the results also, with the combined allocation of both, it will be much better. There will be a highest released feeder capacity in this case. So accordingly, it can able to handle more load. Okay. So that's all for this lecture. These are some major references which is used in this study. So that's all from my side. Thank you. Okay, so now if you have any question, you may ask, please. Am I audible? So one question is there from the Lokendra Kumar. How to select the size of DG for placement in distribution system? That I have answered here. How to select the size of DG for the placement? It will depend. Various techniques are there. It depends on what technique you are using, variational technique or any optimization you are using to select the size. Maximum value of DG size can be that there is some 2 by 3 rule also. How much active power load is connected, because at the end we have to meet the load demand and how much power is there. Okay, and it will depend upon the location also. Okay, in this location this much maximum DG can be added, otherwise there will be problem in the voltage profile, and also losses will enhance instead of decrement in the losses. So it will depend upon the location also. Why we choose normal distribution for load modeling? Is there any specific reason? Yes, a specific reason is that behavior of the load. Okay, so behavior of the load, it is continuously increasing. So that's why normal distribution for probability distribution function we are using. If you will see the probabilistic method adopted to find out the power generation from the wind, so there it is not fixed. Okay, how much power will be there, it will depend upon the wind velocity and all. So there we are using Weibull distribution system generally. So this is depending upon the behavior of data, okay, which we are using for modeling purpose. So any other question? What is DG penetration? What is its maximum value in the network? Same question is there. So that I have answered. This entire lecture is on the DG allocation. So that's all for today. If any other question you have in mind in future also, you may contact me on my email. So thank you everyone.